Hi there, and welcome back. My name is Miss Hodson, and I'm your virtual teacher for 7th grade, and we are going to get started today by looking at Lesson 9. So we're in our second week. This is going to be a focus on writing today, and we're going to stay with our same guiding questions. The first one is, how is the adolescent brain changing? And secondly, how can I make an informed decision about an issue like screen time and then effectively argue my position? So today we're going to review back over much of the work that we've done, and these are the materials that you will need. Again, your article is printed in your packet that you have, and you will find in that distance learning packet Lesson 9 and your Lesson 9 note catcher. You'll also need a pencil. So pause the video if you don't have these materials in front of you, and I'll be here when you push play and get back. Great. Here we go. We'll get started. This is Lesson 9. Our learning targets today are centered around writing. So the first one reads, I can write an argument to support claims with clear reasons and relevant evidence. So one of the things that we do in our English class on a regular basis is to go back to whatever text we're reading and cite evidence to support our ideas, to support an argument, a claim, or even an opinion. So we're going to work on that today. Our second learning target is I can produce clear and coherent writing that is appropriate to task, purpose, and audience, so that you're really focusing your writing today on being understandable and sensible to the people that you are writing to. So those are our targets, and we are ready to get started. I want you to go back into your distance learning packet, find the article that we've been reading this week. It might be all marked up by now. Perhaps you've used your pencil to underline or highlight. Maybe you circled some words. But go ahead and find that article. It's called Explainer, This is Your Brain. I want you to pause the video for about 10 minutes or so and read that article again. You've read it many times this week. And when you're ready to begin the lesson, just come on back and push play on the video again. Go ahead and pause now. All right. Fantastic. So now we want to engage all of the thinking around what we've been reading about and learning about this week. And I want you to consider all of that you've read around both the structure and the function of the brain. I want you to think about these questions. How can you describe the parts of the brain to another person? And also, how have we learned more in the past 15 years about the brain? So those are the things we're going to think about. And I'd like you to go have a short conversation with a member of the family, maybe a caregiver, and talk about the following questions. How does the brain function like a network or rail system? In the article, they talked about that and gave some examples. So how is the brain like a network? Also, how does the brain adapt after injury to compensate for any loss of ability or function? So if your brain was damaged and it was hurt and it couldn't do something like maybe walking, or it didn't see anymore, or it was not organized in its thinking, how does the brain adapt after injury? The article talked about that too. Go ahead and pause the video and go have a conversation about this with someone. and have a little turn and talk, and then come on back and we'll get started. All right, fantastic. We're going to get into our writing section of today's lesson. And in this, you'll want to go to your distance learning packet and find that blank sheet of paper that says Lesson 9, Writing Activity. And I'm going to read the directions as you read along. On the lines below, write a statement that demonstrates your belief about how our understanding of the brain has advanced in the past 15 years and what we now know that was unknown before. That's the focus of your task. And in your writing, you're going to cite 2 pieces of evidence from the article. You might even cite more, but you might run out of lines before you do that. So make sure that you're answering the prompt using 2 pieces of evidence. And don't forget that in your lessons this week, especially lesson 5 and really 6 and 7, you started pulling evidence, and pulling quotes, and pulling ideas from the article that you can now use in this writing assignment. So I would like you to pause the video for about 20 minutes and go write a response. You're going to write a statement, actually, that demonstrates your belief about how our understanding of the brain has advanced over the last 15 years and what we now know that was unknown before. Make sure you cite evidence by looking at the photos and looking at the paragraphs of the reading. Go work that out for 20 minutes and come on back. All right, fantastic. So when I was working on my writing for this prompt, I went back to my article where I had been taking notes and also to my distance learning packet and looked at my note catchers from lessons 5 and 6 and 7. And I started just culminating and pulling together all of the evidence that I wanted to use. And I ended up really focusing on a couple of things. So when I was pulling evidence and I was saying on page 2, and part of what I did is I referenced the picture that is on page 2, and it was part of my evidence of what we've learned about the brain in the last 15 years, for example. So sometimes when I'm citing evidence very specifically, I will say on page 2, there is clearly evidence that, and we would want to quote it, or we could cite it by just saying that's where it is said. So I wanted to give you an example of that, and I look forward to knowing more about what you have done in this work this week. As we finish up today's lesson, I'd like you to share your idea, your writing with someone, maybe a turn and talk, just, moving that forward and having a conversation about all the impacts of what we've learned about the brain that was captured in this article this week. And don't forget that when you're done with your assignment, you can read an extra 20 minutes or so on a piece of text that's either in our distance learning packet or something that you have access to either digitally or at home. So the last thing that we'll do is look at your fluency practice. And when you read an article, any piece of text more than once, your fluency with that text will increase. So here at the end of the week, if you would be able to set a timer for 60 seconds and begin reading the article, you'll notice that you get further and further into the article the more times you do that. You're becoming more fluent with the vocabulary, with the ideas, and it's flowing more completely. And that's how fluency works. We read it again, we read it again, and our brain is catching on to the ebb and the flow of that actual piece of text. So you should notice that from Monday through Friday, or from lesson 5 through 9, that on your fluency check, you're actually getting more words in within that 60-second time period. So give yourself some congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon.